Welcome back, sports fans. Moving the Needle podcast. I'm excited. Today on the show, we've got John Lawlor, a good friend of mine. Man, he has slept, lived World Cup downhill from both sides of the tape. Racer himself, now one of the sport's most respected filmmakers. He's worked on iconic projects like Won't Back Down with Clay Porter. And most recently, it's out by the time you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, Emerald Storm. Man, what a powerful documentary of Ireland's rise in downhill racing. And John, I'm so stoked because you made me relive my childhood through that film. I think anyone of our age and even growing up, just like going to races with their family, with their crew. I loved it, dude. What good crack, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, no, thanks for the introduction. And yeah, we've known each other for coming on probably 20 years now, I'd say, right? Yeah, Emerald Storm, it was like, I mean, I don't even know where to start on that because I wanted to do a documentary on the Irish scene for years, but didn't really know what way would be the best, how to even start something like that. And then when Oisin started doing well and Ronan started doing well, it was kind of like, yeah, it's sort of time now to do it. Um, but yeah, it turned out amazing. And the response I got at the premiere 2 nights ago was, I was really surprised with how much people liked it. And as you said, I think everybody who watches this documentary it'll kind of resonate with their sort of story with how they got into racing. You know, traveling with your parents or your friends to races, and yeah, just figuring out as you go along, not booking anything. We stayed in tents, and there's a lot of that in the film as well. It's not just about Ronan and Oisin. It's like the lead up to that. It's like the whole history behind the sport here in Ireland. And it's kind of like I couldn't cover every generation, every rider, but I sort of went for, I was basically tied to what footage was available. So yeah, there was a lot of people that I couldn't include in it, but yeah, a lot of stuff that was included in it. So yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack from making a documentary. I just thought by watching the history of Irish downhill from when it started, obviously it was ahead of, say, South Africa probably, or maybe similar times where it was just raw and, people didn't have the correct equipment, you couldn't source it. But I think it's a decent look into like the history of those eras of downhill, right? Like what the beginning of the 90s you kind of had footage of that you could then focus on into present day. And like you see the iterations of the bikes, the support. So I love that as like a cheeky history lesson of downhill as well. Like I think you also probably weren't planning to do that, but you can deliver that with a film as well.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled in so many favors from all different generations. One of the biggest chapters I wanted to include was the early 90s when, Robin Seymour and John Pennyfeather were racing. It was only years later that I found out who these guys were. And then like I became friends with them later on. But then when I took a deep dive for this movie, I was like, holy shit, these guys were like racing against, Steve Pete and Jason McCroy back in the day, back in like 1993, 1994. So getting that footage from Peter Purfield of those guys when they were starting out in Ireland, rigid bikes, they were even clipped in, racing in like, tracksuits and like, polo shirts and stuff like this, like really basic, just going out for riding with for a ride with your friends. So to include those guys in it was amazing. And as you said, like a history lesson, like I think unless you're our age, you don't really realize how old the sport is and how deep the history is. And to be able to include that part of it in this story was a kind of a nice sort of bonus for me as well. I really wanted to try and tie the present and the past together. And I think I've achieved it in this to some degree anyway.
No, absolutely. But you said you had it for quite a while, like this idea or this weird thought in your head that it needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I would always bring a camera to races even before I was filming, I'd bring a camera, or like a lot of the guys would bring cameras it's kind of like the modern day vlog, I suppose, before there was a vlog. You just want to document what you were doing on the road to show your friends when you come back home. So a lot of that stuff would just be watched once, on a TV, and then it'd be put in a box and put in an attic somewhere. So to dig all that stuff back out was, and to include it in this was amazing. And also a lot of fun to show people what we got up to before you could just upload it straight away, or, watch it over and over again, put it on social media, looking for likes and views and all that kind of stuff. We just did it for ourselves, just for a bit of crack.
Yeah, I love that. I love that term, and just meeting anyone from Ireland, like, yeah, I mean, it's cool to see the culture coming through in the film as well. And like you said, when Ocean started doing well, like, did that make you realize, okay, there's a full circle story developing here? And like when when those two go and win World Cups, it's like it'd be rude not to make this film now. Like this
Mm.
sort of
Yeah.
country that you wouldn't suspect to be top of a downhill world, it deserves telling of that story.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked to do a project on Ushin when he started writing for YT in 2020. It was before World Champs in Leogang. So I went to his house. Me and Andy Young, who I think you might know actually, went. And he's a filmer now as well. So we went and stayed down with Ushin and filmed with him on his local trails before Leogang World Champs. Um, so I kind of got to meet Ushin. That was sort of the first time I met him, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" And then I filmed with him, and I saw how good a rider he was. And then I went to World Champs in Leogang a few weeks later, and he won the race. I was like, "Holy shit! Someone from Ireland has just won a World Championships." And then over the next 3 or 4 years, like, he started progressing, and then Ronan just appeared on the scene. I'd heard about Ronan on the Irish scene here, but then when that 2022 season, when he just started to get really fast, and then he got a podium at Snowshoe, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then later that year, my dad passed away, and my dad was a huge part of my life growing up. He used to bring us all to the races in the late 90s, even like early 90s, before I was even racing abroad. He was bringing some of those guys like Robin and John Pennyfeather to races in the UK. So having my dad there was huge for me, and for so many of the guys of my generation. Like, he'd bring us to World Cup races, and he managed a team for about 8 or 9 years. So when we lost him, I was like, "Fuck, this is like, it's a really good time. I really wish he was here to see this." And then over the next couple of seasons, when Oshin won and then when Ronan won, I was like, it's time to do it now. So I really called in favors, and it was like, there's a huge tribute to my dad in that
I
movie.
noticed that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
really
that
noticed that.
that will resonate with you as well. Like, you
Yeah,
and Jonty probably had the same story with your dad bringing you to races and just figuring it all out as you went along. So having that story to be able to include my dad, it's like, it's to me, it's almost like a personal project come to life. And all of these other films I've done before are really cool to be involved in, but this one just kind of hits different for me, having that personal note in it, and especially having Ronan Nushin from Ireland. It's sort of like, it kind of feels like I've achieved it as well, even though their achievements have nothing to do with me whatsoever. I'm not taking credit for anything they've done, but to be even part of their story, like, to see those guys win, it kind of feels like I've won. I think anyone on the Irish scene feels like they've won as well.
yeah. I mean, that was the bittersweet part of the film for me, as you mentioned. Like, my dad, a lot of people on the circuit had met him, right? He'd been to Ciota, and the same. Like, he was the guy with the toolbox and took us to the races, and everyone kind of knew that's where you go to find support, like you say, from moral support to mechanic support. And I love that. I wish I'd got to hang out with your dad, knowing what he'd done for the scene back in the day. Like, those two are two peas in the pod from what I could see. And I just thought, well, how special for you. Like, it's bittersweet, but to make the film is a huge tribute to him. And you need father figures like that, like taking all these youngsters to races. And if you don't have someone that's able, like you said, but you had the time, maybe you didn't have all the resources, but your dad had the time and other parents didn't, like, the
Well,
scene the scene wouldn't be there without that.
yeah, he didn't have the time. He
I
made
guess
the
he
time
made the
because,
time.
yeah, he knew what it meant to us, and I don't know if he had a bigger picture in mind of where this was going to go, but I guess he just didn't want us on the streets drinking. I don't know what it was. I mean, it could have been anything, and for him to take a few days or a few weeks or a couple of months off work to bring us to these races, it's like it's a lifetime path for us. Whereas if he didn't do it, maybe we would have found something else.
Yeah,
And
that's true. If you keep us teenagers busy, like, you're right. Like, was there method to madness? I guess you didn't get to ever ask him that.
in a way, I did. Like, he was super into cycling as well. He found bikes in the late '80s, and he used to run marathons, and then his knees gave out on him, the next thing he was like, gonna like he got himself a bike and used to cycle to work and that kind of thing, and then he sort of took up road racing, and that was around the time when mountain biking was becoming popular in Ireland as well, and me and Chris, my brother, were kind of split between mountain biking and road racing, and yeah, it was sort of, we would go to all races, just any kind of cycling at all, and then I started doing pretty well in the local scene and the national scene, and Dad would just bring us to all the races, not just myself, but like all the guys in Drogheda where I'm from, and then Andy Young and Lynn and all those guys would just jump on into the car, and if we're going abroad, they just come with us, and it just kind of snowballed from there, you know.
Man, there's just so many similarities, man. Like
Yeah,
my dad
yeah,
would, yeah, he'd work a full day, then we'd pack the car on the trailer, drive through the night to get to these races around the country. Like everyone thinks South Africa's so small, but to go race up where Greg is, it's 20-hour drive, and we couldn't afford, or there's too much stuff to take to fly. So we drive, and then after race Sunday, drive through the night to make a work shift. Like it's actually absurd looking back at it,
yeah,
on how
exactly.
much
Yeah,
they sacrificed.
yeah, those first few World Cups we went to, it's in the film. We've no footage. We just have a few photographs. They weren't even photographs. They were on, like, projector slides. For some reason, we got these projector slides back when we got the film developed. So they've been sitting in a box for literally 25 years until I got them converted. A friend of mine in Drogheda converted them for me. I was able to use them, and that's basically that whole chapter of us going to Nevigal in '98. We just packed the car and went. Five of us in a state car, five bikes on the roof, a couple of tents, and just pitched up in a car park in the pissing rain
To
for a
race a
week.
World Cup.
To race a World Cup, yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't change anything now, but at the time we were like, "What the fuck are we doing here?" Kind of thing. Why do we stay in a tent of all
At the
things
time,
to
you
do?
said that.
At the time,
Surely that
we
was
didn't have.
just what you could do, so you just
Yeah,
did
well,
it.
we didn't have any money. We kind of split the ferry, it split the petrol, and we didn't know how to book accommodation. There's no internet back then, so we just we're like, we'll just stay in a tent. It's Italy. It's gonna be warm. So when we got there, it was like, it's why do we do this kind of thing? Like literally, we come back from dinner one evening, and our inflatable beds were floating inside the tent. We forgot to close the tent, and there was water inside the tent, and it was floating in the tent. So yeah, then the next week in Leger, we managed to get an apartment for ourselves. But yeah, that was about the height of our luxury. Like, bikes were so sketchy. Didn't have any spares, no tires, like nothing. We didn't even, like, obviously we didn't even qualify. I think Glenn qualified in Navigal because he was on Road Tech that year. But we just went. We just well, I don't know if we thought it was going to be easy looking at on TV, but it wasn't easy at all.
Dude, that's epic. Yeah, I love seeing those. I mean, I remember going to Worlds the first year. Like, I'm just drawing all these parallels. Like, you guys in the film, you have like the haircuts that you were given. You guys are predecessors of Darkfest. Like, you guys are the founders. Darkfest are claiming all these haircuts they're given. You guys were giving them first.
Well, I think we would have seen, Warner and Petey and Palmer back in, I don't, would have been like '97, I think, doing all these mohawks and flames up the side of their head. That's kind of what we were trying to emulate as well. But yeah, I mean, that trip we went on to Lermoose before World Champs was pretty wild, really. There was a couple of bits that we couldn't include in the film on that one.
What are we talking? Well, you can include it in the
We're talking,
podcast, I guess.
yeah, I guess so. Well,
It's
we were there for
self-produced. We don't need a draft. I'll just release it. I don't need to see a draft.
Yeah, so we got there. We were there for 2 weeks. We trained hard. We found a downhill track, and we did time runs every day. We were riding our bikes for like 6-7 hours a day. We were doing intervals. We were doing like circuit training. But we were young guys. We had a lot of energy to burn. So we decided one evening to stage like a Jackass style kidnapping, basically. So we had two vehicles with us. We had two Fiat Ducato vans. So the first van drove into the street. So this is the scene basically. First van drove into the street. If you were a passerby, this is what you saw. Okay, so first van screeched to a halt. Back doors open. Someone was dragged out of the back of the van. Duct tape, hands behind their back, Like we just had like a nappy on him, a duct tape nappy, dragged him into the street. This is our mechanic that it was actually his idea. So Glynn jumped out, dragged Dave Ward into the street, left him there. He jumped into the van. Van drove off. But when Glynn jumped in, I was driving. He said, go, 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 go. So I drove off and he fell out of the van. So he's on the street. And then I'm gone at this stage. So he runs up the street after the van. And meanwhile, Dave is on the ground. He's trying to get his duct tape and get himself untied. All the locals are coming over to help him, not knowing what the hell is going on. So he eventually gets up and runs up the street. And then the second van comes along and picks him up, drags him into the van and drives off. So as a local, you're like, what the fuck did we just see? Was this like a tiger kidnapping or something? So we got back to our hotel, and then like an hour later, not even an hour later, half an hour later, the police turned up and were like, where were you this evening at 7:00? So we told them that it was a joke, that what we were doing. We showed them the tapes, but they didn't know what was going on. So when they got the call of two vehicles in the area, they closed the border between Austria and Germany.
No way.
And put the whole town on lockdown. Well, they just didn't know what was going on. So then when we turned up and told them what was happening, they were sort of like a bit sketchy to begin with. And then when we showed them the tapes, they were like, oh, okay, but please just don't do it again. But we had to go down to the police station and file reports, give our names. Like, luckily my dad was there. He was like a policeman at the time. He was able to sort of explain what we were doing and that it was no bad.
And he was half involved, your dad.
He was half involved. He didn't really know the extent of what we were about to do or what we had just done. Like he wasn't in the van
there.
at all.
Yeah,
he wasn't
like,
there.
Okay, yeah, I get it. And then when he heard what you really did, he's probably like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, but he was always super cool with stuff like that. So yeah, I decided not to include that in the film because it wasn't really it was part of the story, but it didn't really drive the story forward, you know. So I'll release that as a kind of a separate little episode.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, it's separate one.
Yeah,
dude, that's so, like, at the time you think it's so innocent, and then now playing back, you're like, oh, it's kind of, because you can like get in trouble for impersonating a cop, or you can get in trouble for like causing issues where they think it's a real deal, like a false, like those bomb calls and stuff that people make. Like, people think it's like funny as kids, but like it's like seriously, you can get some easily been criminal charges.
We could have been put in jail very easily. I don't know if it was my dad who kind of was able to diffuse the whole thing, or if they saw the funny side. But they definitely saw the funny side once they knew what was going on.
Yeah, you would have to like see the funny side, but not maybe laugh out loud as you get told it. You know, like.
I know.
Dude, when we were in Worlds in Spain, I was 15 at the time. I don't know if you race Worlds in Spain in Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
So it was like my first junior one, 15. I've told the story potentially. Anyway, we go over. My dad's one of the South African chaperones, and we're bored, like you say. We get up to mischief, and it's someone's birthday. So we decide he's getting duct taped to a chair. I don't know if we were going to do a haircut or something. So he was having none of this. So then he was like objecting to that. So then we said, okay, well, you're going down in the elevator. So we like put him in the elevator and then obviously push buttons to go down, and then some random would see him. But he got a bit violent with the chair and he broke the chair. Next thing, right, Spanish, because it's in the hotel, like we think we're being funny. Spanish security or cops are there. They confiscate our passports. And again, it was probably my dad and someone else that had to go and like soft talk them back to like not make this any worse, you know? So that's like, you just do cause what you think is funny at the time, but it gets a bit out of hand.
I know. I mean, I don't know if it's just the energy that you have at that age, or if you're genuinely trying to cause someone's life to be miserable around you and living in the area. But we didn't think of the consequences, or we didn't think of even why we're doing it. It was just like, we're doing something. We're gonna look, just cause havoc around
something
us.
Fun. Yeah,
I think it may have been seeing like the likes of Warner and Stephen Palmer in the magazines, dirt magazines in the late 90s, were like trying to maybe copy what they were doing.
Yeah,
but it was fun. It was
fun.
You know?
It's meant to, it's harmless fun, right? Like, no one did get hurt, as far as like you could think that criminal charges should be
I know,
maybe attached to it, but it's meant to be harmless fun. You didn't hurt anyone. Definitely not.
Exactly.
Luckily.
I know.
Well, I mean, you did screech off in a van and someone fell out the back.
I know, exactly. Yeah, you've seen that. Oh, you haven't seen it. You've seen the film. Yeah, that bit was. I should have actually sent that to you. Yeah,
Oh, that yeah. Well, we'll get the clip. You should definitely
yeah,
release a few of those outtakes. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's brilliant. But I mean, it was such a raw sport back then. So you were there racing at some of the rawest, wildest rock star type figures in the sport.
Yeah, well, Palmer had just when I was getting into it, I my first season was '98, and then I started to qualify in '99, and then that was Palmer's last year. And then, yeah, like Warner was still around. Steve was racing well. Like Steve eclipsed so many people. And, but yeah, just to be part of it back then, it was like stepping into a magazine. There was no, like, you would rarely see it on TV. It was on Eurosport, but not everyone had Eurosport back then. So, yeah, just to step into that world was kind of surreal for us. We were like, we didn't know what to expect. You'd seen all these tracks, pictures of the tracks, um, you got there, it obviously was way steeper than it looked on TV or in the magazines. So to get there and to step into that world was amazing, but it was also daunting. And uh, yeah, you could never live up to the expectations of how well you thought you could do. You know.
What was it like seeing those guys, Vulios, PD, Palmer? Like, did you put them on pedestals before you got there, or once you'd seen them do it, you were like, oh, okay, this is a bit of a
Yeah, a
different
little.
sport right now.
Yeah, totally. I remember standing in after World Champs in Caprun. I remember walking around the pits, looking at everyone's bikes were hanging up. Nico had just won his, I don't know, his sixth or seventh
Oh, that's
title.
2002 then.
Yeah, actually, that was his 10th title, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember
I
because he
think
retired after that one in Caprun.
yeah, I think
He
so.
had won 7 elites and 3 juniors, I think,
Three
by that
juniors.
point.
Yeah, that was 2002. That
Yeah.
was my last year junior. I was there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I remember walking around the pits and seeing Viljo's bike hanging in the pits, and I was looking at it, and it was the V process, and then Chris Kovarik was also walking around, and he was, checking out Viljo's bike. He had just got, I think, third the day before. He was like he was always having battles with Viljo's at the time. But I remember he spun Viljo's wheel, and there was absolutely no drag at either of the wheels. It spun for like probably a minute. And Kovarik was like, "This is like," he said it out loud. He was like, "This is what we're competing against." Like even Chris was like, "How can you compete with this kind of perfection?" Just looking at Viljo's bike and just been kind of blown away by it. And yeah, that's kind of what you're up against. That level of perfection.
Yeah, he was almost ahead of his time. I remember, I
Yeah.
don't know if he was riding foam grips somewhere. Maybe this is after his career, but an enduro race. And I just asked, oh, is it for the feel? Like, why? Like foam wide on grips. He's like, oh, no, the weight. This is like
Oh, the
he
weight.
decided
Okay.
it was because of weight. And I heard that some of those Worlds bikes, like they either did no paint and stickers for weight, or like paint was going to add weight. So they were really nitpicking so many things like ahead of its time for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was unreal. And I'm sure if you asked Steve, if you had asked Steve at the time, you know, why is Villiers so much better? He might have even denied that he was that much better. But I think in hindsight, everybody realized how far ahead Villiers was from everybody else, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So take us through that journey. I mean, so you racing like at the pinnacle of the sport, getting more experience, and you showed in the film like this, kind of this crew from Ireland, and that you guys start getting confidence, start believing like you can qualify. Okay, you can get in the top 40, top 30. There's some breakout results, which is awesome. And I firmly believe like without that, there is no Ocean, there is no Ronan believing that they can do this. Like Greg before us and a few South Africans before him was the reason I went over, right? It's like, oh, someone from a small country can do this.
I mean, it's all small steps. What the guys before us did made us we fed into that, and we started doing kind of what they did and getting slightly better results at World Cups. And then the generation after me and Glyn, like he had Ben Reed arriving on the scene, and he was like regular top 30 guy, and then he had a top 10 in Schladming in '07. So he firmly believes that what me and Glyn were doing fed into what he was able to achieve on a bike. And then he picked up Jacob Dixon as a junior, and obviously it just snowballed, and all the experience that we gave Ben was able to give to Jacob. And then, yeah, I guess indirectly, like I didn't know Oisin and Jacob didn't know Oisin or Ronan, but I guess that foundation of the scene in Ireland fed into the races that they were able to go to, and maybe what we were doing abroad was reflected back into the scene in Ireland, and then that kind of what's possible to even go and race these races that maybe triggered something in Oisin's head that he's going to go and win this race. Like I spoke to Oisin when he was 15 or 16, I think it was. And his goal is like to be the best in the world, like a world champion and a regular top five guy. This is like before he's even raced a single World Cup race. And like here we are 3-4 years later, and he's basically achieved that. You know, he's won a World Cup. He's a regular top five guy. So it's just all about belief. And then Ronan, I think Ronan had to actually do the opposite. I think he had to, you know, rein himself back because he would blow out qualies and crash. And then he told me, he was like, he had to just kind of cop on and um, sort of, if he wants to take it seriously, just to try and get down the hill without crashing. And then that's what he did. He pulled himself together and started getting results. And then before he knew it, he was on the podium and then winning races, winning hardline twice, and winning in Poland in last year, 2024. So I think it's all about sort of belief, and yeah, maybe that the sort of us, the experience that we gave ourselves and fed back into the scene, that maybe they did, maybe they didn't get inspiration from that.
No, I certainly, you might not see it or want to admit it, but I mean, it is about the people that came before you. It's setting the bar, and then you want to go better than that. But you mentioned he had this self-belief, Ocean did, when you met him. What
Yeah.
else did you see? And was it not a surprise when these guys won? You know, because
Oh,
it
I was
seemed to come
surprised.
somewhat
Yeah.
quickly, but maybe you saw something in them even when they were young.
Well, when I filmed with Oisin in down in Limerick that time before World Champs, when I saw how he was riding sections, I was like, "Holy shit, this kid is really, really fast!" Like he was, you know, like coming out of turns. Like I know he was just filming with us, but coming out of turns and getting on the pedals at the perfect time and been able to hold speed and been able to ride muddy sections. I was like, this kid has something. But then when he won worlds, I was like, "Holy shit, he's just won world champs!" And it surprised me, but at the same time, it didn't surprise me because I saw how he was riding during practice that week, and I saw how he was riding at his trails at home. And then, but to see that, it was just kind of unbelievable because I didn't think it was ever possible for me. But then to see him do it, I was like, it kind of made sense, you know. And then when he won Maribor the week after, when he crashed in his race run and still got, he was 6 seconds up in his race run, then crashed, got up and still won by like half a second or something with a big ripped sleeve. I was kind of like, this kid has something, real
Uh,
deal.
yeah, and that was first year junior, correct? Eh?
First year junior, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know he had that sort of subpar year in elite. Was it his first elite year that some would say? I think because of these expectations that he kind of put on himself from winning worlds early, having the talent, it was quite odd. Like it's almost like people almost wrote him off when he got into elite, like as if he was just meant to figure out the first year elite. But if I've got my timing correct, it's 2020 when he wins Worlds, and he's got another year in juniors. So then his first elite year is 22, but then he wins in 23.
Yeah, exactly.
So that timeline is absurdly quick. But
Yeah, and
it's
I think for
almost like
that,
because he was around for so long, we're like, oh, okay, Ocean's had this injury. He's not quite cracking the elites. It's like, what?
yeah,
Like, it's just
I
because he
think,
was there for so many years as a junior.
yeah, it was 2020. I think he was injured for a lot of that year.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it was. I can't remember which race it was, but he was out for a lot of it. So I guess maybe he fell off people's radars because he was first year elite. People were like, "Oh, he's just one of those fast juniors, and he won't make it as elite."
Yeah,
And then
that's a
when he
good
came
word.
back,
Fell off the radar. You didn't say it's not
yeah,
going to happen. You're just like, okay, we don't need to talk about him. It's going to come, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. And then he hadn't even ridden. I don't think he rode in snowshoe the year that Ronan got fourth place. I think it was injured. He was injured, and then the year he won snowshoe was his first time ever riding that place, and he goes and wins it. So yeah, I think he sort of proved to a lot of people that he was fast and it was possible, and he did it. And then that obviously pushed Ronan on. I think Ronan was like only like points less than a second off winning, and that maybe spurred Ronan on to realize he could actually win one as well.
Yeah, the reaction on the podium is priceless. Like they talk about in the film, like you have to watch this film, as everyone knows. But that reaction where like Ronan says what he said, or Ocean says, "I think this is what he said," and you can kind of see, like you can read the lips,
Yeah,
and he's just in utter shock. But it's really cool that Ronan used that as fuel. You know, you could have easily been like, I showed the pace earlier. I had a podium here. It would be cool if I got the win. But to get it so quickly the next year in Poland for Ronan,
yeah,
I think is good. Like that could have dragged on if he didn't get the win and be like, Ocean got the win and I didn't, you know? So it's cool
yeah.
that they sort of totally support and fuel each other and
Well,
practice
they
together
grew
as
they
well.
they grew up. Ronan's a year older than Oisin, so they grew up riding. So like Ronan would move up, and then Oisin would have a year to himself, and then he'd move up into Ronan's category. So they were always pushing each other when they were like kids. So they sort of always had that mentality of wanting to beat each other, but always being happy when the other one did well, kind of thing. But you know yourself, if someone beats you, if a fellow South African or a fellow Irishman beats you, you want to beat them. There's no sour grapes or anything like that. It's just like I'm going to win the next one, kind of thing. And
Yeah,
that's
I
the
mean, it's a
mentality of
cool
those guys.
cool thing with the sport, right? Like it's not like four cross where you can blame the other person or
Yeah,
there's these
exactly.
we've had amazing rivalries over the year, but they're all the vendettas against each other are made up. Like you didn't do
Yeah,
anything personally. It's not like you let some guy's tire down and won. It's like you went
yeah.
faster than them on the day. I think that's a beautiful thing of the sport for sure. But yeah, speak to the Irish culture, the mentality. Like you guys come from tough weather, tough conditions, tough like history. It seems, like if you make it out of Ireland, you're tough as nails.
Yeah, I mean, it's always wet here. It's never, if there's a dry couple of months in the summer, you're kind of lucky, but it's muddy the whole time. As you see at the start of that film,
I watched the film like, dude, these guys are all. I could feel how cold it was
yeah, yeah,
watching
yeah,
the film.
exactly. Yeah, and when you're brought up in a sort of a place like that, when there's no grip, there's no everything, it's cold all the time. When you go abroad, it's like going on holidays. Like you learn to ride in dust and dry routes, but you have that sort of base skill level to ride on in any condition, and that's what the boys have. That's what Ron and Nushian have. They have that base. They don't like it doesn't matter if it's raining. They have to just go out and ride their bikes and get fast, and that's how they did it.
Yeah, and I think that helps with the energy at these races that are wet, like Leo going in 2020, or say this Poland that just went by. Like when you're from South Africa and you're only riding in the summer, it's a little draining to be like, okay, I enjoy the wet, but it's like the faff that comes with it. I don't
Yeah,
enjoy it all because I'm not used to it. It's like you guys just know, like, put on your rain gear, go get wet, wash it off. Like it's just normality. It's like me putting sunblock on. You guys are like, oh, it's fucking hot out there. I don't know if I want to go
yeah,
ride in 35-degree heat. I'm like, well, there's no other choice. Like it's 40
yeah. There's
degrees or it's 38 degrees tomorrow. So is what it
You're
is.
going at. Yeah, I mean, there's no question. If you've arranged to go out with your friends for a bike ride on a Sunday morning and it's pissing rain and it's 5 degrees, you're going. You just put a jacket on, and that's sort of the attitude that Oisin and Ronan have at races. Like anytime I speak to Oisin and there's even a remote chance of rain, he's like, "I hope it rains this weekend," because the two boys just love riding in the mud. Like I filmed with Ronan last year at his local trails in Jess Woods, and like there's no the trails up there are just roots or mud, and that's just what he rides on. There's no trail center. They don't practice on trail center stuff. They just practice in the hardest possible track to ride on, and I think that's what gives them the edge when it comes to tough conditions like that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Hey, West Virginia is so slippery. Those like
Yeah,
weird, treacherous, slippery conditions, a little flat. It makes sense that those two
exactly.
Irish boys can excel there.
Yeah,
Even when it gets
exactly.
dry, it's finicky, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of nudge. There's not a lot of gradient. You have to hold speed, and that's kind of similar to the trails we have here as well. And similar at Poland as well. Like when Ronan won there, it had rained the day before. Like it actually pissed rain, and the track cut in really nicely. And I think that's what Ronan got used to it at that level. And then when it did dry up a little bit for finals, it still wasn't fully dry, So I think he had that sort of, I'm just going to ride this as fast as I can, like I'd ride my trails back home, and that's how he did it. That's how he won.
Yeah, and second documentary you've made, the other one with Clay Porter, but would you do another one? Like in this day and age, there's not many people tackling this longer form content. It's not an action packed edit. It's not Death Grip 2 like Brendan did. With the attention spans that everyone have. Like talk to the challenges of pitching these things, getting the support. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I decided to do this, I didn't tell anyone I was working on it. I just sort of started slowly gathering archive footage from wherever I could. I started interviewing the guys in the film over, like I interviewed Glyn O'Brien, like it's at the start of 2023 it was. And then I had that, he kind of talked through the whole film, and that was the story I wanted to cover. And then as I was getting the archive footage, I was slowly feeling out the story, and then I was arranging to interview other guys as well. So I took my time with getting all of the support story where people were talking about it. But then, yeah, as you said, it's a challenge knowing where this is going to live. And I didn't have anything lined up with Red Bull. I got the film finished, and then I was like, I actually spoke to Clay. I was like, what did you do for Death Grip 2? And he said that it was a real challenge with distribution, and he wouldn't really recommend going down the route he went because it was just so difficult. But then he sort of said, Danny Grant at Red Bull, he was working at the Orchard when we were doing Won't Back Down, and he's working at Red Bull now. So he said, see what if Danny wants to take it off you. So I got in touch with Danny, and after a few weeks, we sort of had done a deal that he was going to have it on Red Bull TV, which I could not believe. And he's not even Irish, and he loved the film. I think as we talked about, it kind of resonated with everybody has gone through this story. Growing up, if you grew up with bikes, this is a story for you because it talks about hardship. It talks about the impossible challenges. And I think that will break through the attention span that people have now, the short attention span, like the dopamine hit, scrolling. If you get locked into this film from the start, I think you will really enjoy it, no matter where you're from in the world. It will strike a chord, I think.
Yeah, well said. No, I couldn't agree more. It just has that all-round story. It is like the Irish underdog story. Well, I guess underdog as like a generic term, and then the Irish component. And yeah, it does strike chord. Well, I'm stoked for you. But speaking of hardships, like, what does it look like? They say to eat an elephant, it's just one bite at a time. Like how,
Yeah,
like it seems
exactly.
overwhelming and daunting to try to put all that together. But it sounds like when you got the interview from Glyn, there was like a timeline, and then you start piecing these things together. Like, so you started in
Exactly.
2023.
Yeah. So I interviewed Glyn in, I think, February 2023. And then I started to get in touch with filmmakers from Ireland. I had a bunch of Andy Young stuff that I used for, I think for Won't Back Down, I used some of his stuff. Or I certainly had his tapes anyway. And then, I got in touch with uh, Ralph Schupp, who's the YT filmer. He was able to give me some stuff of Ushin at World Champs. And then Peter Purfield, who was around in the 1990s in Ireland. And then I had Max Randall from Sleeper helped me out as well. And a bunch of other guys as well. Sorry if I can't remember their names now, but there was so many people who contributed to this. So it was just like picking off, like ticking the boxes. I have that covered, I have that covered, I have that covered. And then combined with my own footage to fill in the gaps. The story, I'm not going to say it sort of just fell into place, but I could definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel that there's something here. And then basically before I knew it, I had a 65-minute documentary ready to go.
And
So,
how many total hours of footage would you say you went
oh,
through? Just like a guess, napkin guess.
oh,
What are we talking?
hundreds,
Yeah, I
probably
was
two.
imagining
Yeah, probably 200 or 300 hours of footage, I'd say.
that you've got to comb through.
Comb through, sift out. Like I was literally scraping the bottom of the barrel at some points. Like all that stuff from like 99, 2000, like there was just bits. Like if if there was a barrel of footage, you might get one cup of, of footage out of that barrel. And you had to just, well, because I was there for a lot of it, I kind of knew, and a lot of the stuff I recorded myself, I knew the moments that I had to try and dig out. But yeah, like not a huge amount of footage to work with, certainly for the early stuff.
Yeah, no.
But
totally.
having all that stuff from Snowshoe when the boys were first and second, that was Sleeper's footage. And
yeah, but I think the modern day stuff's easier to get, right? Like there's enough filmers there, the quality's gonna be good. It's gonna look good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the old stuff.
That was a challenge trying to get the old stuff to sort of match in with the new stuff. But I think people realize that it's old and it kind of gives a nice charm, I think, the old crappy quality,
No, I love it. It just takes you back in time,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like, I think you didn't even... Yeah, I think it flows in really nicely, like, thinking back to watching the film. It's like, it must be old and grainy, but you don't really notice that part of it. You just notice that it's from that era, and then the bike... Like, you're more looking at, like, the state of...
The bikes.
Or the non-existent suspension, or the non-existent geometry, like
fully rigid canty brakes, not even no SPD, like toe clips. Remember toe
clips? Dude, how spoiled are the juniors of today?
I know.
How old are we going to sound? But it's true. Like, just looking back at that film, it's like, what? Dude, they're riding on 29er production bikes. Like, it's like if you don't make it down the hill, it's probably because you smashed your wheel into a rock you should have avoided. Exactly. But the bike doesn't just disintegrate.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, even when we were going to the races, every time you turn up at a race, you'd have I remember going with Z1 Bombers to my first World Cup, and there was Steve
I had one of them.
Warner. Yeah, Steve and Warner on like a boxer, and not only a boxer, but a 7-inch boxer. It was like, it was just when production were coming in, and then the black box guys got an extra, 25 mil of travel, and then there'd be like a 7-inch version, and then they'd have an 8-inch version, and then they'd have a slacker head angle and longer wheelbase. Like, there was so many slight changes in bike technology. Every race you went to, you thought you caught up, and then you were already on the back foot because they had the next generation of, bike tech, bike geometry, wheelbase.
Yeah, that gap was way that gap's way wider now. It was even closer when I got on some factory teams. Like, yes, we had some factory stuff. It definitely helped, made some gains. But as you mentioned, it wasn't night and day to the point that the factory guys had this crazy advantage. Like, when you first started privateering, I mean, it was a huge advantage to be on the factory team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you didn't really know it at the time how far it was going to go. And I think if you looked at a factory bike from 2000 and a stock bike from 2000, there wouldn't really be any difference now looking back. But then it was huge, tires and suspension, like even the Michelin stuff that they were doing back then, like the system that that the top guys had. No one knew what was in there, but it was like, I don't have it. So, I mean, I must be at a disadvantage now. It was also probably a mental thing as well.
It was literally a tubby and a piece of foam.
You ran that, didn't you?
Yeah. Do you know what was in it? That's what it was. It was like a road tubby. Like a tubular with a piece of high density foam on the top. So it was like a run flat. Like Volio's, I think, got down. I think he was on it at Sierra Nevada. Remember, he punched it in the final, and that was like the one he didn't win.
Front wheel, that's right. Yeah,
he still could. You could still ride it down, but it didn't. Yeah, it helped like with punches, but you could still get them. But anyway, I had a year on that stuff. Yeah, but when you didn't know what was in there, and they kept it such a secret for you, you must be like, what is in there? This mysterious thing.
I know. Yeah, it was crazy. Good times though. I mean, I'm sure that still goes on now with Ambry and Loic. Their setups now are just like, what the hell is going on with their bikes? Every time they turn up at a race, there's something new, and maybe it's a mind thing to try and get into the riders' heads, but definitely still a lot of advancements in bike tech.
No, totally, man. I mean, you've seen multiple like decades of the sport by now, eh? And it's cool. You raced it, you got to document it. I mean, doing the PD documentary, that's a big thing. Like that, I think I spoke to you guys, you felt like quite a responsibility to deliver that film with with the history of PD and what he accomplished, right? With you and Clay.
Yeah. Yeah, like I started filming for Syndicate in '09, and there was talk of doing the documentary then, but it was just talk. And then I went to Worlds and stayed with the Syndicate, and Steve ended up winning that race. And I was like, holy shit, he's just won Worlds after like, what was it, 16 years of trying, like 2 gold, 2 silver medals, 3 silver medals by that point, 4 silver medals, actually. I'm like such a geek with results and stuff like that. But and then when he won, we were like, holy shit, we need to do something. But then it's sort of not that it lost momentum, but we were working on 3 minute gaps around the same time, and it kind of got put on the back burner for a while. And then by the time we got around to making it, Steve had his world champs result. He had sort of already moved on, and it wasn't just that Steve had won worlds, it was Steve is still racing and he's nearly 40 years old. So it sort of turned from a world champs winning documentary to like a whole career winning documentary, and the longevity that he had. And to be able to work on that was amazing. That was a dream project to work on. Very hard, but the result of that was to make a film about Steve Pete was such a privilege, you know. And to work with Clay on it was amazing as well. Very hard, but yeah, really cool. Worked out really well.
What were the challenges there? Not, I mean,
Same
of
as
course there would be, but
yeah, same as with Emerald Storm, sourcing archive footage, doing interviews, deciding what to include, what to exclude, distribution. But yeah, it's they're always hard when you're working on them, but then when you kind of step back when it's finished, you're kind of like, yeah, that was worth every second of it, you know.
it's funny how quickly you forget trauma and hard times.
Exactly, I know.
It's just
Yeah,
absurd
yeah,
how the
yeah.
brain can just, once
Of
you've dealt
course.
with it, you can deal with harder things
Yeah,
the next
exactly.
time. But when
Yeah,
you're in it, you just feel like this is never going to end or
yeah,
not
exactly.
going to solve this challenge. Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, that's a must watch for any, like, especially like the current downhill crop. Like, wonder if they've even watched that.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, you
it's
know,
10 years old now. We released that in 2014,
is it that
so
old
it's
now?
it's 11
Shit.
years old. Yeah, so yeah, who know? I haven't watched it in a while
That's a cool
myself.
history of downhill as well. Like
Yeah,
that's yes, it's the UK scene with PD, but it's a cool history because you're following him into the international
yeah,
scene, and I mean, what an incredible,
yeah. We've
inspiring
lots of
story.
stuff with like Corrado Heron is in there, Palmer is in there, Vulios is in there, Warner is in there as well, and then you have like Sam Hill and G and Greg and all those guys and Josh Bryceland. So it's a pretty big span. That's like an hour 50 documentary. That one, that was a monster.
Yeah, I love it. But there's some cool like riding montages in that of like the races, which I think
Yeah.
is cool. Like it feels shorter than an hour 50. But what was the decision like for you to stop racing? You said you always had a camera with you. Like how challenging and what's the timeline of that transition to be like a
So I was
filmer then a
racing.
filmmaker?
Yeah, so I was racing World Cups from '98 to 2005, and for me anyway, there was always a deal with like we were on Rally one year, and then we were on had a deal with Santa Cruz another year, and then Orange Bikes. I never got paid by any company to ride their bikes. I was lucky to get a sports grant from the Irish cycling from Sport Ireland. It is now. So that just basically covered my expenses to go to races. I was living at home. Um, so to get to go to the races was amazing. But then I got injured in '05, and I decided I'd already booked my uh, flights and accommodation for the next race. So I just decided I broke my elbow at the start of '06 actually. And I went to Vigo with a camera and I decided to just film the race. And then I went to Willingen and filmed, and then I did a movie called Second Last Chance. I think it was 4 or so races that year, and that was sort of my introduction to doing it. It was always you try and do a DVD. Like Alex Rankin was such a huge inspiration to me back then, like all the Earthed series and then the Sprung series. So that's what I wanted to do when I finished racing, and then I just sort of funded it myself for a few years, and then I sort of got a deal with Santa Cruz and Specialized from '09, and have been to every race basically since then.
Yeah, you're definitely a
Doing
veteran between you and Sven. Just like you're going to see them there, and you've got all the history. Did so? Were you working then odd jobs in the off season to like
what
fund traveling and racing before you got those like syndicate and specialized
when I
deals?
when I was racing more so, I was working in the off season. You'd work from sort of October to January, like any sort of job you could get, just to raise some cash, and then you'd hand in your notice and go traveling for the summer, and then pick it up then in October again to get some more cash. But then when I stopped racing and started filming, I was actually making more money than I was when I was racing. And I went to college. I did creative media from '06 to 2010.
Oh,
So
so
I
you
was
did a
able to,
formal sort of course and stuff in that
yeah, and it was more,
industry.
it wasn't to sort of gain education. It was to kind of get more, try and figure out how to do it properly, even though in hindsight, the way I was doing it was the proper way, because you can't teach what a World Cup filmer does in college. So, but I was looking to get a back to education grant for that time in college. So that covered my college tuition and fees and that kind of thing. So anything I was doing at the races was sort of a bonus. And then by the time I'd finished college, I'd already got a few clients on board. So, yeah, I've never even mentioned my degree to anybody that I've worked for. It's always just been sort of self-taught, and all the experience I've gained is basically off my own bat, you know?
Yeah, I mean that is the best way, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
just
think
like
so.
learn by doing, especially in our
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah. And then when you work with people, like you work with Clay and you work with some other guys, like me and Victor Lucas have been working together since 2009, on and off on some pretty big projects. He actually did the full sound design on this film as well. So,
Did he?
like, yeah.
Oh, that's
Victor's a
cool. Yeah, I haven't
Victor's a
heard his
sound guy in this film.
name lately, but that's great.
Yeah. We've been doing some projects together, sort of in the background. So yeah, you make these connections and you just keep them going. You know.
What was it like with Clay Porter? For those that have maybe heard of him, seen some of his stuff, but what's your guys' personality differences like, and then working together?
Clay is so enthusiastic when it comes to projects. Um, like working on 3 Minute Gaps, that was a full race film. So he was working for the Athertons that year in 2010. I was working for Santa Cruz. So, and as it happened that year, it was G and Greg for the overall. So we sort of just did our own thing for the whole season, documented behind the scenes. I was behind the scenes with Greg. He was behind the scenes with G. So then when Clay went to edit that film, we had all this amazing footage that on its own didn't seem like that big a deal. But then when you put it together, like G, like, you know, in the pits before a race, and Greg in the pits after you crossed in qualifying or something like that. When you put those two together, it just made for kind of film magic in a way. And the way Clay edits that stuff, he's a kind of a master when it comes to getting the hype across on screen. But yeah, I love working with Clay. He likes to stay up very late and get up late, and that's kind of the opposite of the way I do it. But I think when you get two guys like that together, it makes for some pretty good results, I think.
Yeah, that's bringing back some memories, man. That's crazy
Yeah,
that
I
you
mean,
guys were on teams, like randomly filming for teams that then went into the overall that year.
yeah. And yeah, we filmed with you at your home place in South Africa for
Yeah,
three
yeah,
minute
yeah,
gaps as well. That was great.
yeah.
Like
We
a lot,
put
so much fun working with you guys on that. Working
yeah,
with
yeah.
Clay.
We put Clay in the tree, and his legs went numb. Remember, we like
Oh,
tied him.
really?
We like I think it was that film up in the forest. Like this is before drones, and this is like
Yeah, we
well, I don't
set
even
up a
know
zip line.
a
We
zip
had
line.
a
Is that yeah? Sorry, it
we
was
had
called zip
yeah
lines
we
back
had
then.
I think we had a remote zip line. Well, a remote zip line, it was basically a camera tied to
No,
a harness, and I think we used a flip flop to slow it down because it was
yeah,
too
yeah, yeah.
steep, and we
No,
wedged someone's flip flop in.
yeah, but I
To,
think this one, like Clay, was the guy up in the zip
oh
line,
yeah.
and
Oh
then the
really?
whole
Okay.
yeah, and then his legs went numb. So I remember we bring him down, but he couldn't stand. So we're obviously laughing at him, but the poor guy's like flopping around on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I miss those films, right? It's just so much more challenging to do, and that's why talking to you about releasing this now in 2025. That's epic.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had sort of wanted to do a long film like this for a while, and um, just taking it on. I didn't know what I was taking on when I started it. It was a kind of a passion project, as I talked about. Um, but it was definitely it was challenging, talking with the UCI and with the European Broadcast Union about rights, where I can use this stuff and fees and all that kind of stuff. But it's and that's sort of, I'm glad I didn't speak to those guys before I started this project, because it definitely would have been stop in your tracks kind of a thing. I'm not going to do this because it's just too much hassle, or just they'll say no straight away. So I purposely left that until the film was done to try and figure out distribution, or you know where it's going to live, rights and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it worked out pretty good.
What can you share on that? So it's obviously challenging. Getting the footage is one thing, but getting the rights to use it in a film like this and where it's going to sit.
Yeah, you basically have to pay them to use it. You have to pay them per minute. So you have to
to
work out how
get the
many
race, race
race
broadcast
footage
from their cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but even stuff that I film myself, if it's during the race, you have to pay them to use it. So I use
Yeah.
as little actual race footage as possible to keep the costs down. But it doesn't show in the film because
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a challenge. Like, you can see what they're doing, but at the same time, you're like trying to promote the sport. I think you guys have had this ongoing challenge for a while now, right? With distribution rights and
Yeah,
using this
and
footage. Like, it happens everywhere, I
it
guess.
happens everywhere. Like we have the same issues these days with getting rights to even be at a race. I think it's more geared towards how quickly some of the teams get footage out, and they don't want too much race run footage in there. And I think, in a funny kind of way, um, a long form film like this it should be sort of in a different category, but it's kind of not in a different category. It's kind of lumped in with the sort of how fast and how much of a bulk, like the wave of footage that comes out after a race is like there's so much of it. So the UCI have to sort of try and control that. But this is sort of a slow burner. This is going to live hopefully for a long time as a sort of a showcase of what the sport is. So in that kind of way, it doesn't have its own category as far as licensing. It's the same license fees as teams would have for licensing race run footage from a race nowadays. But like obviously there's footage from this in this film from 10, 15 years ago. And I think it's just cool that people see that. And I really hope when the UCI see it, they will realize that it's great promotion for the sport.
Maybe you can use it as a case study to be like, after a certain amount of years, you could change the fee structure. I totally agree. It's not, I
Who
understand
knows?
throttling it because of like a current race, and you don't want to ruin that viewing experience. You want people to tune in the live. We all do, right? We do want people to watch the live, of
Of
course.
course. Yeah,
It's
of
great for
course.
the
Yeah.
sport, and then at the same time, you want them to be able to watch the team stuff, like once that's done. And then this is like a total different category. It's archived footage. It's like you're doing nothing
Yeah.
with it. No one's really watching the replays, so you're not getting any value there. So like, let us help promote the sport. Yeah, maybe you can try that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but they were really good. And they were both sides were really excited for the project, and yeah, wish me good luck with it. And yeah, hopefully it does well, and reflects how cool the sport is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, speaking of that, so you've seen it multiple different decades, multiple different Irish riders. Now they're at the top. Talk about the sport currently and standing on the sidelines, filming it. Um, what's
Yeah,
that?
so
What's that like for you after all these years? And where do you see the sport now after some of these sort of structural changes?
yeah, yeah, everybody's gone faster now than they've been. Like even in the last 3 or 4 years, I don't know what's changed. Is it wheel size or geometry or just attitudes have changed? Yeah, I mean, what they're doing now with Q1 and Q2 is definitely exciting, and it's changed the sport fundamentally. Like those guys, I've seen some of the guys who would have been regular qualifiers or who would have been protected before now, who some of them aren't even making finals. So to be in that position I think it's probably quite uncomfortable for a lot of guys, not knowing if they're going to be in finals on Sunday. You have the super fast guys like Loic and Amory who are basically still doing what they did before, and even I think there was guys like Pinky. I think Pinky up until Latuile. I think even in Latuile, him and Loic were the only two guys who had, don't quote me on this, but who had made it through uh, to
Q1.
finals from Q1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. I think
yeah.
the Prela was it was three people in that conversation until Andorra, and then it's now dropped to just Loic.
Okay, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
I'm not going to bet my house on that, but I remember from the last podcast, it was about those three guys
I think you're
that,
right.
that
Yeah,
went through, and then Pinky and Deprella, I think, missed out in Andorra, and Loic didn't. So it's only been one, I think, that
yeah,
went through straight from Q1. Yeah.
yeah. It's wild.
So
Yeah, I
what?
mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, some people will look at it as a sort of a bad thing that it's changed so much, but it's definitely made it more exciting to watch. Like if they could show Q1 and Q2 on the live or some kind of a recap. They've been a little bit inconsistent with how much of that they're showing. I think on XT weekends, maybe the camera crew are doing other things, but when they started showing them at the start of the year, I think it was Poland, they were showing it. Really exciting to watch.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Q2 for sure. LCQ, for lack of a better
LTQ.
term.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I prefer that one.
I've
LTQ.
yeah.
Yeah,
I pitched it to Bernard. I like to sneak it in there.
yeah, of
They were
course.
calling it LCQ. No, I like what they're doing. I think we should have a devil's advocate conversation. They've taken a lot of flack. I think a lot of it is constructive feedback for sure. But like
Mm,
you say, there's a byproduct of excitement that we have for sure. If you're going to get rid of the protected riders, but you mentioned like riders are going faster. Like, what is it? Is it the wheel size? Is it the technology in bikes? Is it the attitude? I think it's a mixture of all those marginal gains, and then with disrupting the finals to only 30 riders,
yeah,
I think subconsciously you have to think we've got to step it up, even if we're one of the top guys.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's 20 years since I raced the World Cup. I wouldn't know what goes on in a rider's head now. But I think maybe, I was speaking to Finn in Leo Gang, and he said going up for Q2, he was the most stressed he'd ever been in a race, like ever, including any finals. So I think it's changing the way riders think about a race, and they're maybe having to dig deeper sooner in the weekend to find that speed. And like times are so tight to get in now. I don't even know. Is it like even 5 seconds between first and 20th for Q1?
Oh, it'll be less.
It's
It'll be
probably even
less
less than that.
for Q1. It'll be less, but like the
Yeah,
total first to 30th, yeah,
yeah,
no, it'll be less at a place like Leo Gang.
yeah.
Crazy.
So I haven't looked at the stats. I don't know the actual speeds, but it definitely seems like they're having to certainly try harder if that's even possible this year.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. As if they're not trying to go as fast as humanly
Yeah,
possible on a
just try
bike
harder. Yeah,
at 60k an hour over
yeah,
rocks. Yeah, just what do you mean? Just try a little bit harder.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that's the worry, isn't it? Like you're already asking a lot of these guys. There's, as we said, the equipment. There's a less of a gap between factory and even say a privateer or someone that's got less support. Like
Exactly.
who could we say has less support? What's that New Zealand youngster that got in the finals once or twice? Anyway,
Oh,
names.
Sam Gale.
Yeah, like a
Somebody.
Sam Gale.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So say a
yeah,
Sam Gale. So he's not even on the current proto specialized. I think he's on a specialized.
yeah,
But like the bike's fine.
yeah. I know.
It can win, can get on the
Yeah,
podium,
exactly.
right? So you got
Yeah.
this guy with minimal support having a good time. He's in the top 30. So you got this way more depth.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
funny you say it that because I think maybe some of the people that it's affecting most are the people who might have always been in a protected rider, so they didn't really have to deal with trying to qualify, or they would have had to deal with it less than a privateer who's used to, trying to just squeeze in and dealing with that qualifying pressure, whereas the fast guys maybe don't have to deal with it as much because they've always and not taking anything away from them, if they've always been there, they got there because they were fast. But now that they're reduced to no protection, that's probably getting in their heads a little bit more. Like they feel like they should be in the finals, but they have to sort of earn it the same way everybody else earns it, and maybe they can't deal with it as easily as those guys can.
Yeah. I mean, it adds a level of expectation and weight and pressure. Like, I should be in a final versus I'm going to go out and do a race run, and you can see how a lot of them are getting forced into Q2, then they get through, then they realize, so they're having to adapt. But for sure, like, racing is changing a little bit. The strategies for sure change. Still downhill. Like, once you're in the final, it's one run, but to get there is,
Yeah,
it's exciting for us. But I think we're both sitting here going, thank goodness I race
I
in a
know.
different era.
Exactly. I
And
know. I
and
don't know how,
and you're hearing
yeah,
top riders mention that. I think we're going to see less of them have longer careers. Like, it's going to, you come in,
maybe.
it's cutthroat. I understand, like, the devil's advocate is like, hey, it's professional sport. It's meant to be cutthroat. So there's
Yeah.
all those comments.
Yeah, and then I don't know how it's going to affect, teams who are having these riders on their team, um, how it's going to affect budgets if not as many guys are making it into finals. Like, there's only 30 guys can make it into finals. It's only, I don't know what fraction of the whole pit that is, but it's definitely a lot less than it's been before. And if there's guys who are consistently not making it in, it'll be stressful for those guys for sure. I mean, I can't imagine the stress it would be if you were getting paid from a big team and you're not making it into finals.
No, you don't wish that on anyway. Yeah, it's
No.
interesting. Like, I just have questions. Like, I don't understand. Like, we want 15 teams plus some wild cards. You need to, like, hire riders in case there's injuries. So you need 2 or 3 males. Say you have elite women, fine. So you're like 4 riders on the team, but you definitely need 2 or 3 elite men. So that's like 45 riders plus the wild cards. Like, we've got a lot of top level talent that is paying to be there, that deserves to be there, but we're not allowing them all to be in the final. And it's obviously because of broadcast. So I got all these questions. Like, we're trying to understand where we go from here, but
Yeah.
it's not my
It,
fight anymore, my man.
I
And
know. I
I
know.
don't want to bitch another podcast on some of these things, but I do want to understand, like, from you being there for a while, like, what's it like on side of the track? And the pace is like blisteringly scary, right? And like,
Yes.
from board 80 down to board 1 or whatever the board is, you're like, holy, who's that guy, John? I would like come past you and be like, who's this guy?
Yeah, I mean, you see the guys who might not be qualifying on a weekend, but they're still so fast, and you're like, how is that guy not in the finals? And you almost sometimes you kind of dismiss it. It's like, oh, he's only going to be in 60th position, but he's like the 60th fastest guy in the world, but he's
In the
still not
world,
making
yeah.
finals. Yeah. And it's actually interesting. This is the first year I've filmed finals because I'm doing that weekend for Vital. So we'll pick 3 riders and kind of shadow them all weekend. So it's an interesting that I haven't seen the stresses up until now. But I think anyone I've spoken to um, between Q1 and Q2 and finals, like I spoke with Danny, I followed him in Leogang and he didn't make it into finals. And I can't imagine what it must have been like not making it in for him. Like, for so long he's been like in finals, and it's just that weekend for him was devastating. um so yeah, the stress is definitely there. Like, Finn was the same. Finn made it in, but it's definitely changed uh the
Yeah,
the,
no, it
the,
has.
the idea of what way they approach a race weekend.
Yeah, like, it's different to when there was 60 or 80. Like, that's devastating. But it was like, I don't know, you just kind of knew you'd bounce back the next week. Like, if
Yeah,
you're a top
exactly.
rider, you're like, okay, well, I crashed out like a
Exactly.
dummy, or I flatted at the wrong time and I wasn't
Yeah.
protected. Now
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
sure, I could do this again next week. I'm going to do this again in 3 weeks'
Yeah,
time.
I know.
No,
Yeah.
it's ruthless, and it's the top riders in the world. So I don't, definitely not going to butcher another podcast on how many should be in the final. Everyone knows, like, my I mean, it's not uneducated opinion, but everyone has their own opinions. And like I say, I think I'm trying to look at the devil's advocate. And like you say, it is exciting when they've
Yeah.
got the resources to promote it. When there's not XC, it's because of the cameras. From what I understand, you can understand that. Like, just
Yeah.
look at the numbers. Oh, put Q2 on live. Like, okay, just pull a lot of money out of my ass to do that. If the cameras, I
Yeah,
think physically
exactly.
they can't even do it because the cameras have to be over at short track.
Yeah,
That's
or
what I've
maybe
heard.
I think the cameras stay there, but the operators, it's
Yeah,
just
so it's
camera
like,
operators. Yeah.
yeah, it's like just not physically possible unless you throw
Yeah.
like a crazy amount of money at it. And
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm stoked. We're going to more venues, which is obviously ironically a funny time to do it. The industry's hurting, right? Like you would have
Yeah.
noticed that making this film,
Yeah.
reaching out for support sponsors, like,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
it's a
it
super
was
challenging time.
super challenging. Yeah. And yeah, there's no sponsors in this film. It's just myself. It was just my time that I put into it,
Oh, wow.
and favors from the guys who contributed. So yeah, I'm not going to make any money on this film. I'll
But you
make
were
sort
looking
of.
for support
I
previously,
I,
right?
I
So
was
it
looking for
was that big of
support.
a challenge.
It was that big of a challenge, and I sort of wanted to. Uh, Ideally, I wanted to get sponsors, common sponsors between Oisin and Ronan, because they're both on the cover. They're both the stars of the film. So I was sort of limited in who I was approaching, and it seemed very early on that no one really. I didn't have Red Bull on board as a distributor when I was approaching these guys, so maybe they didn't know how big the project was going to end up being. But it was a kind of a blessing in disguise, because now that there's no sponsors on board, it made licensing footage easier and a bit cheaper as well. And I'm just sort of glad it's mine instead of a company who paid to be presenting sponsor, that kind of way.
Yeah,
It kind
that's
of gets back
awesome.
to my roots of having no sponsors, so I just went old school with it.
Yeah, and your dad would be proud, man. It's just like,
Yeah,
it's amazing lifetime of work that you've able to sort of give away, for lack of a better term, because it's going to sit
yeah,
on there for free, right?
yeah, exactly. And that was the sort of pipe dream from the start, was like, how sick would it be if this was on Red Bull TV? And I didn't think it was going to be possible. And then some conversations, some emails, they were like, "Yeah, we love it. Let's run it." I was like, "Fuck yeah, it's amazing."
That's
So
wicked.
stoked. Yeah.
Wicked. So what does the future look like for you? Filmmaking? Are you married to the sport? Like, we're going to see you for how many more years? Get grey or more grey like
Well,
Sven?
yeah, great
Me?
now.
What are we
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah. Well, I've been doing it for nearly over 30. As long as this film starts in 1990, I was cycling when I was 8 or 9 years old. So I've been around from the very start, and then to be involved from a filmmaking point of view, where my body has sort of given up on me, I can sort of take over with creativity and ideas and stuff like that. So I'd like to be involved until I'm old and grey. I want to, like, this is the first project I've done where this is my project, and I'd really love to do more projects like this. So yeah, I just love going to the races. I'm addicted to. If I'm not at a race, I haven't been to all the races this year, but I'm just addicted to looking at the results and seeing who's fast. And I'm sure you're the same. Like, when you don't go to the races, you kind of get a bit of FOMO. So just being, it's what I think about every single day. I think in race seasons, when the season starts at the end of the summer, that's like the time, and then you can kind of hibernate in the off season, and that's kind of the way it's been for me for nearly 30 years now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, creature of habit. No, I do. Like, I went to, did we see each other? Were you in Andorra?
I wasn't in Andorra.
No, you
No,
were.
that
Okay,
was
that makes
yeah,
sense. So
yeah.
I popped in there, and the first day or two, I'm a little bit, I feel like a little bit of a loose part, which is
Mm,
because I'm not part of it, and there's not like an official role at that one. And then I was, with the Scott team, and then it's course walk, and then racing, riding. It gets a bit more exciting, but by race day, I'm like, this is why I love coming.
yeah,
The
addicted to it
energy.
again.
No,
Yeah,
just the energy and the
yeah,
unknown, and you can say whatever you want in a podcast. You can say whatever you want on paper, like who's going to win, who's going to do it. But you got to, you know, the story
yeah.
unfolds live between 2 and 3.5 minutes now, in
I
front of your
know,
eyes, and
I
it's
know,
just like you can't script it, and
I
that's live
know.
sport.
And each race, there's always like, it always comes down to, like, it seems to come down to the top 10, top five guys, and it's like nail biting, and they're just like splits, or like people are up and down at splits, and it's like, and then Jackson with his winning streak this year, and then Loic, coming back again. It's like you can't script it.
No, and then like
Yeah.
Gracie, like not a
Oh yeah.
surprise she can go that quick, but what's she gonna do it that early? And then boom, she's like the lady to beat. And
Yeah.
Valley's just not quite having the season we would all hope for, and her as well.
Yeah. All
Slowly
these ups and
burning. You're like,
downs.
shit,
Yeah.
that was
I
almost
know.
unpredicted as well.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. Long may it last. Long may it last.
There we go.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna be in Leger?
No, I'm going to. Worlds is my next one, and then I'm skipping Leger, skipping Lenzerheide, and then doing the last two in Canada and Lake Placid. So
Wicked. Well, I'll see you in Worlds, so
yeah,
we can
yeah,
bench race on the side of the track as per usual
exactly.
at
Yeah,
Worlds.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
that's going to
always
be
fun.
exciting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Champery again. It's always one of those venues where you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's got this
Yeah,
history of having Worlds there. Obviously in the wet with Danny, so you got the
yeah.
storyline like you're hoping to recreate.
I know.
Well, I don't know. I think I think the track's like bedded in a bit more now. I haven't seen it lately, but I know it's like, remember when we first there went, it was like the most ridiculous raw. Some sections felt a bit unrideable and
Yeah,
dangerous
that
at
that
times.
'07 year, wasn't it, when Sam
Yes,
crashed and Maddie won? It was like
that
what?
one.
It was like, why are they sending the riders down this?
Exactly. You're
That's what.
like, should we
Yeah,
be going down this?
yeah. And then it rained in finals. It was like you. I remember you. I remember seeing you in your race run, like goggles off, like fucking mud in your
Probably.
face. Yeah.
Yeah. No
And then
surprise.
Sam comes down. It's just one of those venues that, like, even though Sam crashed, he still got third place.
Mm,
And then Danny won Worlds in 2011 there as well. So
yeah.
yeah, it's one of those venues. They had European champs there, I think, last year or the year before, didn't they?
Mm.
So yeah, I think all the guys are out there right now training.
Yeah, it looks pretty fast and gnarly in the dry, so we'll definitely
Yeah.
see. Yeah. So we've sort of chatted. You'll probably be around, which is great for the sport. And like, it's crystal ball. Like, where is the sport 5-10 years from now?
I don't know. I remember, like, there's all these moments in time where you think, like, you go back 20 years, it's like, if you're talking about bike tech or nutrition, or you're talking about attitude to racing, the speed, it was like, it can't get any faster than this. Bikes can't get any better. I remember having this conversation in like 2000s, like, this is it now. This is the maximum the sport can get to. And then you fast forward 5 years and you look back and it's like, you would not ride the bikes from 5 years ago. And if you do that every few years and look back, it's like, it's still happening now. Maybe less so, but I think there's always going to be something new in bike tech. There's always going to be someone who comes along like Jackson, who just wipes the floor with everybody for a while, and then everybody catches up again. And then that's the new standard. It's always being pushed slightly. Uh, Someone new comes along, makes the old guard a bit more comfortable, and then the old guard either step up their game or they retire. Basically, they can't keep up, and we see that all the time. It happened. It happened so many times over the years. Like when Sam Hill arrived, when G arrived, when Danny did that at World Champs.
Gwyn.
Um, Gwyn for sure, yeah. And then Loic when he came along. Yeah, exciting times. It's what a sport.
Yeah. So other than those two behind you on the film, who's like a
Yeah.
favorite rider to film work with?
Oh, you put me on the spot now. Like, I love watching Jackson ride a bike. He's just like this, like 60 kilo, if he's even 60 kilo guy. He just looks like a kid riding a bike, but somehow he can do these unbelievable things. The lines he takes, you're like, holy, like, so one of those sections, Val de Sol, I think it was year after World Champs. It's that section under the gondola. It's like it's like a dusty section left, off camber right turn, and he just basically he bounced down this bit,
Yeah, yeah. He
and
like
you're
makes
like,
it a jump track, eh?
yeah, exactly, yeah. I might send you that clip now so you can put it in.
Oh, that would be good. I'll make a
Yeah,
note.
I don't even think he was on. He was still on yet on Trek then, I think. But I remember just seeing him hit this right hand corner and then just like bump, bump, and then like left hand turn. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But I've never worked with Jackson. I'd love to do something with him.
Haven't you?
No, never worked with him.
What about the most challenging rider to work with,
The
other than
most
me?
the most challenging.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a negative. It could just be like you feel pressured to like get the shot, or I don't know.
Well, I remember working
Like,
with Dan Atherton in New Zealand for 3 minute gaps, and we were putting some zip lines up. And there was that. I think it was one of the very last segments in 3 minute gaps, and I don't know why we decided we put a zip line up in like the most exposed, out in the open bit with no trees, but I think, I don't know if we had some scaffolding planks or if we had like some wood or something, but we had to like ratchet this zip line to get it really tight. It's maybe like a 5-6 kilo weight you're putting on it, but it still has to be pretty tight, and not like a rider obviously can't hit it. But Dan was like tightening in this strap, and we're like, Dan, I don't think it's going to hold. And he's like, it's done what it needs to do. It's like resting in its place now. We're good to go. So like I'm standing. I think Clay is standing on top. He's like trying to wait for Dan to ride into shot to let go of the camera. So it's like right in front of Dan, and as he's going down. I think like right at the very end of it, like Dan is catching the camera, and then like right when he catches it is when the zip line sort of hit the end, and like that's right where we cut in the film, because there wasn't any more frames of footage, and Dan like was so close to the camera as well. So yeah, Dan was always up for doing something different.
Yeah, I wish I would like see more of him, right? He's kind of like, it seems like he's like a hermit at his bike park.
Well, I haven't seen him in probably, I'd say, 10 years since he stopped racing World Cups or going to World Cups. But yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I'm sure he's
No,
still building and working on the
he
brand,
loves
the
it.
bikes and things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he is. And like they sneak to World Cup here and there and you high five him, but he was such a cool character to have like at the
Yeah.
races, and he
Oh,
kind
for
of,
sure. Yeah. Yeah. And
which
I
I
miss him
like.
and G being at the races too.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we miss the people like we got to know, and you're in that age demographic, and
Yeah.
then more and more people drift away. But no, I mean it's cool. Like he's doing what makes him happy for a long time. Like he walked away from racing, what some would say quite early. Like a Josh Bryson as well. I have to respect that. You're like, dude, a man of your talent could have stayed in and
Yeah.
killed it for a
He
long
was so
time,
talented. I know
but
he
he
was so
just
talented.
wasn't for him. Didn't make him happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, really cool guy.
Yeah.
Love Dan. Yeah.
Wicked. Well,
Yeah.
so as we recording and finishing up here, it's on Red Bull TV.
Yeah,
Emerald
it's on.
Storm.
Yeah, it's going on the 21st. So if this is coming out, it's already on there. So we just had the premiere in my hometown there 2 nights ago, and people really liked it. I think it resonated with everybody here in Ireland anyway. I think it was it was a full house, 170 people. So they got to see it early. So yeah, go check it out, Red Bull TV, Emerald Storm.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So,
thanks for having me.
yeah, easy. How many people are
Yeah.
at, I didn't get to ask you, how many people are at an Irish national downhill these days?
I haven't
Like,
been.
what's the
Last one I
total?
was at was Irish Champs last year. There's a few hundred riders
Shit, that's cool.
as far as I know. Yeah, like there's a big scene here now, and with Oisin and Ronan doing so well, it's sort of spurred everybody on to try and be the next fast guy.
Yeah,
And
like you
anything's
say,
possible.
in 5-10 years, it could be the next Irish guy at the top,
Yeah, yeah, and you might not even know who that is. No, he might just be a kid. He might be like literally a 10-year-old kid who's just riding, trail center stuff
Yeah.
up in the gap in Dublin. So
So hopefully some dads listening or watching this are going to show them this film, for inspiration, or any that you don't have to be Irish to get inspired by this film. John, thanks for what you've done for the sport, and gave me a nice, bittersweet look back into my past with, my late dad, your late dad. So he'd be proud. He'd really be proud of this film and what you've done.
thanks, Niels. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Cool. Everybody, if you're listening, thanks. If you made it this far, you know what to do. Leave us a comment and subscribe. Till the next one. Peace.